here's the roadmap of the entire thing that you want, right? But really what we're going to do, we're going to get something in the hands of users this fast. And then we can iterate, we'll get feedback from here, and we can maybe integrate other stuff. But like, what's the actual, how do we get this in the hands of users ASAP?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to build this to get in the hands of users. You just don't.
Agreed.
It's a huge fallacy that people have.
I was in the bando a long time. Need to get the Lambo and drive. I was in the lab, you were on my mind, but all I really do is just go. I was in the bando a long time. Need to get the Lambo and drive. I was in the lab, you were.
When you hear like sales, right? It's not. I've never felt like I'm ever selling, because if you come from a place of service, right? It's never selling in my eyes, right? You're like, I'm helping them, and you actually are genuinely trying to help them, then it's not selling. You're doing them a disservice by actually not providing your product or service to them, right? So that's number one. And then number two is that literally in everything you are doing, you are selling. Whether it's, maybe it's the people on the team presenting work to a client, right? If you just have some, I don't know, let's call it wireframes, right? If you're showing that to someone, right? You could be showing it to them, and then if I present it versus someone else presenting it, they could get two completely different things out of it, right? You're persuading them there's a reason why you did something, and you want them to understand that and match it up with like, hey, these are their goals, here's what you did, how does that match up with it? And you're selling them on that what you created was actually the solution that they needed for that, right? Versus if you just present it to them, it's kind of boring. Like, I could even have some shitty wireframes, but literally in like the way I present it, it could come off that I created the better solution just because of the way I presented it. So that's why knowing, not only having great product, but also knowing how to communicate that and how to persuade, how to sell, whatever you want to call it, is super important. We're not in a position to send out a proposal in this minute. So we're trying to work through what we can actually present as a proposal and what we should do. And Lauren was involved in part, like phase 2, but not phase 1. You were involved in the whole entire process, right?
Okay.
Right. And so basically, the long story short, the feedback is that he doesn't feel like we were as strong of a thought partner as we could have been. And so that's why he's ultimately made just use someone else to like actually design and build it.
Oh, okay. So we're still bidding.
Oh yeah. This isn't done at all. We're definitely bidding for this thing. So I'm trying to figure out what can we actually do to like, in these last, the idea would have been in that first month, we would have like convinced him, but like he's not convinced. So even at this point, he's either made a decision not to work with us at all, or it's like, hey, depending on like how well we do on this proposal, like we'll push more over the edge. Like my data points are, he wasn't happy with the first product sprint, so we did another one. Mm-hmm. That he may use someone else because he didn't think we were a good enough thought partner, right? Those are like my data points.
Yeah.
Right? And then we're like, all right, now we have to bid on this thing.
Okay.
From my perspective, giving all that stuff, I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but then I'm like, all right, give me peace of mind. Like, what went through there? Like, are we in the right position? Is this actually what we need to build for him? Like, did we create all this stuff? Do we actually believe this is everything that we need? Right? Or did he go over the top with this? Right? Does he actually need a $200,000 app, or does he really need 100? Can we phase it? Are there any questions that are still unanswered that we can actually highlight to him? One little trick that I've just picked up, I've just learned by like doing, but it comes like naturally, is when you ask a bunch of questions. So one is always asking a lot of questions. I always ask, right? And then is taking that and then repeating essentially what you've learned from all those questions back to that person, but in a very concise way that is clearer than any way that they said it, right? So if you're uncovering someone's business problems or problems, right, by asking all these questions that seem disconnected, right? You're asking all of them, and then all of a sudden you take all those questions and answers and boil it down into a couple sentences and repeat it back to them. then they're like, holy shit, he understands. Not only does he understand the problem, but he can even understand it, and he's reiterating it back clearer than I could ever even see it, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, now you've just gained some trust with them and credibility, right? It's really important. And from there, then you can build on top of that. But that's a great way to initially establish some trust in that process when you're first selling whatever it is. It's a good little trick. Sales tactics at Jakt.
Always down.